are talking Bless the Child, and this one is directed by Chuck Russell and has a pretty good cast, headed up by Kim Basinger, who plays Maggie, our main character. But you've also got Jimmy Smits as a kind of an FBI agent, Rufus Sewell as our kind of bad guy Eric. But we've also got sort of like little cameo guest star moments from the likes of Christina Ricci and Ian Holm. So what is the story? It's actually based on a novel and is somewhat of a companion piece in a lot of ways to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie End of Days. Now, I actually saw both of those films at the cinema, and none of my friends are really horror fans, and you know, I got them to come to the cinema to see this one with me, and they were like, what did we just watch? So what is the story? So it focuses on Maggie, who is played by Kim Basinger, who is this woman who can't have kids, but she's visited by her younger sister, who has apparently just kind of given birth to a 9-day-old baby, and ultimately kind of ditches this baby onto Maggie, Kim Basinger's character, because the mother is kind of a little bit of a strung-out drug addict and stuff, and feels like she can't really look after this baby. So we have a cut to a few years later, and this young girl has grown up a little bit and appears to be autistic, but she appears to also have some type of otherworldly power. Now, we seem to have this cult of Satanists led by Rufus Sewell's character Eric, who are kind of taking an interest in this particular girl and want to do nefarious things with her, and want this little girl for themselves. Now, what will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let us discuss what I think works with Bless the Child. Okay, so obviously, first thing, it's got a pretty good cast. There's lots of kind of recognisable names there that you'll kind of see pop up in kind of small roles, and that's all kind of like pretty good to see. And I like Kim Basinger. It's just kind of disappeared this kind of period of time, 2022, when I'm kind of recording this. But at one point, she was kind of like a megastar in a lot of ways, and this was just after she'd kind of won an Oscar, like a year or two before this one. So she was kind of like really in her prime in kind of this kind of time in her career. I always find kind of creepy cult movies and Satanist movies quite interesting. You know, how you always think how deep are these kind of the talent of this kind of organisation going. And there are some kind of creepy imagery here in regards to the sort of symbolism and the kind of, you know, their kind of apparent power. And we also get these kind of like hallucinations from Kim Basinger's character, where she kind of sees demonic kind of figures almost, kind of like in her subconscious, or are they really there? So that was some pretty good imagery there, although I do have a little bit of a problem with that one. And this is why when I first saw the movie, I thought this, which I'll come back to. I quite like Jimmy Smits in the role as well, as a kind of FBI agent. It never kind of falls into a romantic interest, which I think is very easy to kind of do. And you know, it feels a little bit like a TV movie, if I'm honest. But I gotta say, it's based off a novel, and it kind of, you know, it kind of feels like that almost. If you almost feel like you're watching this in chapters to a certain degree. But you know, it's an interesting kind of dynamic, and I quite liked the general kind of story of this movie. And I gotta say, although I don't think this is Kim Basinger's best work, I thought she did an okay job. They're quite understated in this run. The little girl's quite good as well. What doesn't work for me, I thought this movie was maybe a little bit too understated. I mean, like I say, Kim Basinger is not long come off an Oscar, but you don't really feel she's completely kind of fully invested in this particular role. This more feels like a kind of a paycheck gig for her. She's not bad in it. She's perfectly serviceable, but you never really feel she's fully committing. I have to say that our kind of Satanist cult, I don't feel they're as threatening as they could be. I think the actor who plays the cult leader, Rufus Sewell, as Eric, I've got to say, I thought he seemed a little bit weak, a little bit kind of weak sauce to me. It almost feels like our bad guys are almost on the back foot from the get-go. I think it's not helped by the fact that we have these, you know, apparently angels kind of helping our protagonists at some points through the movie. So you almost feels like it's inevitable they're going to kind of like triumph. And of course, you know, you'd expect that, but it almost feels like there's legitimately other worldly forces helping our good guys, but our bad guys, it feels like just a kind of a group of people. and what kind of chance they have. So they never really feel particularly kind of threatening. And it does feel derivative of other kind of like satanic style kind of cult movies. And there's certain kind of like things that they use here, like the creepy kind of babysitter and things like that kind of feel straight out of other films. So it does feel a little derivative. One of the criticisms that I had of this movie when I first saw it at the cinema, so this was 22 years ago, was that we see these sequences where we actually see demonic creatures, you know, through what we think are hallucinations, but they never really do anything. I mean, we have some good imagery on screen, but we never see anything, they never do anything overt. They're just kind of there, just as a little bit of a kind of a cool imagery here and there, but they never actually do anything. And I've always thought that was a little kind of disappointing. And again, it somewhat undercut, I think, the threat of this cult, because we have this kind of demonic creatures or imagery or whatever they are meant to be, just kind of hanging around looking scary, but then don't actually kind of do anything, which I kind of feel sort of undercuts the threat a little bit. When it comes down to it, it's a somewhat of a predictable film, and it kind of feels like a typical kind of potboiler novel that you'll kind of pick up in a, you know, an airport that's been kind of converted into a kind of a film. It never really feels like it's anything better than average, to be honest with you. So that's pretty much what I'm going to give this movie. It's a 5 out of 10 for me. I think it was entertaining. I quite like the kind of the Jimmy Smits character, to be honest. And I'm always interested in these kind of like, you know, devil worship type movies, because I do find it an interesting subject matter. But this one doesn't really kind of raise the bar in any particular way. So I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. What did you think of it? Have you seen it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.